Hello and welcome back to the slime ranching land. Why are they all out here? I just missed a lot, I guess. But it's slime ranching time. And I need to get more of these guys. I need more rock slimes. You know what, that's what I'll do. Right now, let's go grab more rock slimes. After I make sure everyone's fed. If they're not fed, that's an issue. But back, that's not a lot of okas. Back to here to keep my slimes nice and happy. Okay, these guys are happy. The ones in there should be fine. And the quantum ones should be fine as well. But I'll check them really quick. They look a little hungry. Are any of these hungry? Yeah, they're good. But back playing this, I don't remember what I left off with last time. I want to grab that. I meant to grab it last time, but I forgot. But my goal today, right now, I want to grab more rock slimes to increase my honey slimes, because I can definitely have more in there without it being a threat. But today, my intent was to, or is, to try and talk about a book I read, because it's been a while since I finished a whole book, because I've been reading a lot of partial books and stuff. So it's gonna talk about I don't know the pronunciation. My interpretation of the pronunciation is that it is Salvos, but it is just spelt Salvos, like plural of salvo, like cannon salvo. I think you fire cannons in salvos. But that is that's where I left off. And last week, Friday or Saturday, I think it was Friday, like late Friday maybe, there was the newest book was released, and I read it, and it was okay overall, is what I'll say. Like, it's not, the entire series is not a masterpiece of writing. Like, it very, very clearly wears its inspiration on its sleeve. Like, it's not subtle with where it draws pretty much all of its story, well, not story, but setup from, like combinations of like cultivation story, like cultivation. Stop eating the heartbeats. Eat the honey plorts, please. I don't need the rock plorts. The rock plorts are useless. I need a honey plort. There was one more, wasn't there? I guess he did eat. Good. They have plenty of food. I guess I'll just toss them in mangoes in here, because these guys can eat anything, and it's all equal. Probably not efficient. It's probably better to build a silo somewhere, but anywho, moving along. I haven't actually grabbed puddle plorts in a long time. How are they doing? Oh yeah, they have plenty. I should grab puddle plorts and put them in the refinery, because I think there's some things that use them. I can't upgrade this, right? No. I still haven't found the mag- Oh yeah, I was gonna explore here, thinking maybe there's magma slimes there. Or lava slimes, I'm not actually sure what they are, because I haven't found them yet. But I was going to talk about the Salvos book. It might be called Revelation. It's... I would say that it's not a low point in the series, because it is fundamentally still more of the exact same storytelling. It's not worse. It's just the story's been going on long enough that the tropes and cliche moments are more and more obvious because there's been so many already. Yeah, let's make some of these. Oh, because this is an advanced and this was novice. Oops, I was making the wrong type. Oh well, too late now. But it's still fine as a volume. Like, I didn't hate reading it, but there were a few moments that I disliked. Though I think it might stem from, so I don't know a ton about the writing of this book, but what I've seen, my impression is it was originally a web novel. Okay, it was written by someone who I'm pretty sure is like, it's a English language series. It's not a translated series, but it follows common, like, Eastern cultivation, isekai type story tropes. Like, that's what it's styled after, which I think kind of says all that needs to be said on a base level. But it's still a fun series. But yes, weird. It's fun. It's very clear that it's influenced by all the isekai cultivation, revived as a monster type stories that exist. But I find the current volume... Oh no, I was trying to talk about how it was originally a web novel. I think before it even started to become like an official novel release that was sold on Amazon, like before it even got to that, it was already... I'm gonna sell this for money, all this stuff right now. It had been around for a bit before that, so I think the Amazon full release volumes instead of just chapters were the full release chapter volumes, I think, were probably had more proofreading because it had been around for a while, relatively speaking. Whereas the most recent volume, by the time volume 9 was released, volume 10's content wasn't all, at least, released on the Royal Road or whatever the website is called. I know the website's called Royal Road, but I don't really know. I think Royal Road's just a web novel uploading place. There's plenty of them for I'm not a fan fiction person, but there's common names for fan fiction ones, so it's that type of thing where people can just upload whatever they want, and then sometimes it has success. I'm pretty sure that 50 Shades of Grey was uploaded on one of those types of websites. I don't know, I don't read that type of literature, but it still is what it is. I need to switch these heartbeats out for something else. I don't need the heartbeats anymore now that I have the mint mangoes, because I think the mint mangoes are more aesthetically pleasing than the heartbeats. And I like mint. It's no strong reason to be like, oh, mint mangoes instead of heartbeats, but it is what it is. I've been distracted for too long. I meant to go out and do other stuff, but I've just been managing the ranch for a while, and it's taking time. Oh wait, do I have an upgrade that I can purchase? I believe I do. Yeah, treasure cracker. So I'm just gonna leave everything how it is right now and go out to at least pick up the two thingamadoos. Pick up the two. I also want to grab that. The two drills? I think they're advanced drills. Right there. And then plant some. Yeah, I'll plant some more in the same area probably. But on to actually trying to talk about the story and not getting sidetracked by myself. I'm sidetracking myself very effectively. Ugh. I don't need aesthetics. Oh, tar slimes. Ooh, 2 for 1. Okay, they're all fine. I need to get rid of that plort. Because it's rock plorts and tabby plorts are the issues here. Okay, no I thought I saw a tabby plort, but it's gone. There's gonna be another tar slime there shortly. I need to go this way. Okay, I got to hit a tree. You're hungry? Eat it. Oh, you missed it. Too bad. Just a bunch of jellystone. So useful. Ah! Remotely deposit into refinery. That's pretty good. So I'm gonna put novice. Novice. And novice. And then somewhere else I'll put the advanced. The advanced on the other area over here. Can I fly this far? I don't feel safe, but I can. Can I put the novices over here? Well, no, the advanced apiaries here? I'm surprised there hasn't been a location yet. Probably because it's just a fairly thin stretch. Okay, let's put apiaries. So the refinery link is going to be useful in my main area, if nowhere else. Stuck on a tree. But I'm trying to not get distracted and actually talk about something and focus for a minute, which is a challenge. But I'm not gonna make it. Oh, I made it. But the story being told at this point is within this. Oh, you only have 6 out at once. Nice. That's cool to know. Okay, but the story in the current volume, without any sort of spoiler, is sort of interesting. Like, it introduces some new stuff to the world, which is, I personally find, the most important. Shoot. I guess I'll leave that there for now. If I come back and find it, I'll come back and find it. Okay, I'm at 221, I should be fine. But the current volume, it built the world a bit, which I think is very solid. Like, it... Actually, no. Well, I just remembered what really got me about this volume was the fact that it was very, very clearly leaning into the common, like, cultivation novel. Trope is not the right word. Cliche is actually the right word. common cultivation novel cliche of sort of there's always a bigger world. So like often cultivation novels will have the main character succeed, do well, and either once they're at the top of their current world, realm, universe, whatever, or a little bit before that, they learn about the broader existence where stronger people are. And then oftentimes, once they're at the peak of that next realm, they find out where the even stronger people are. And it's sort of crystal plorts. I don't know where crystal ones are. They must be in the east. They must be here, right? Like if crystal slimes are not in this area, then I don't know where they are. So I need to find crystal slimes to get that to save time. But the whole, there's always a bigger fish. Frog at the bottom of a well type, like, world. It very clearly sets that up. Like, it explicitly states, or one of the characters explicitly states to the main character, you are nothing. You're not special. Nothing at all. Like, you are mediocre. You're special within your world, but in the grand scheme of things, you are nothing. And that's a very common line. And like, I think it's appropriate to establish that if that's the way the story's going, because if you want to have a story that can run forever or run for incredibly long, just having an infinitely outwardly expanding world helps a lot. Like, if each tier of universe has another tier above it, you're good. This one probably isn't going to extend beyond that because it's starting right away with the multiverse. But I don't know, it's not really the same, it's not the, I don't know, real world multiverse theorem. It's the, there are other universes that exist that are different than our current universe. Which is like, it's a story, it works, it's fine. But it's establishing very early that that's where the cultivation-centric elements will really come to play. But like, it's fine. It works, I think. And it's not awful. I think the book could have used a little more proofreading. There's a few bits that, like, repeat the same thing a little bit too much. But, I mean, if I were writing a book, I'd be even worse, so I can't really say too much. Especially since I think it was originally, you know, since it was just uploaded there, it was probably self-done and self-published and everything, so it's kind of, I mean, I assume by now they have an editor, but... Okay, I need to get through these guys, the work with these guys quickly, so that I can go find crystal slimes and magma slimes. Because I haven't seen a single crystal slime. They might be nighttime in that area too, which would make it harder to find because I haven't been there at nighttime. So it's going to make sure they have food, and I'm not going to worry about their plorts this morning. I'll try to make sure I don't forget about their plorts tomorrow, but... as long as they have food, they're fine. And if the plorts overflow a bit, the plorts overflow a bit. Let's just do this. There's too much food right now. I have too many... if I didn't have that heartbeat one, it'd be fine, but it's pretty much 1-to-1 that I think you try to aim for. And I'm at more than 1-to-1. Let's just leave these in here. Oh, I'm gonna do... yeah, I'll check these guys and then I'll head out. Because the other two on the other end definitely have enough food. These guys I haven't actually even cleared their plorts yet, so they might be more full, and they are... I only just got them, so I don't have a lot of their plorts collected. Yeah. And I have a lot of pink plorts too, which is nice. But back to the book. It has... Actually, I guess part of the most obvious things, like, oh, tiers of gods is something that it plays as well. Like, there's low tier gods and medium tier gods and high tier gods in the direct sense, as opposed to like the fact that Romans supposedly had a god for door hinges. Like, they would be a low tier god. They would be low on the pecking order, but they're not a lower tier god. They're just an obscure god. Okay, these quantum plorts are needed for teleporters. And they probably sell for a lot of money, but I don't need money at this exact moment. Well, I do, because there's a ton of stuff to purchase, but... Refinery Link just needs crystal plorts. So, can I make a drone? I need 4 more wild honey. I don't... Supposedly drones are very useful, because they aren't in the second game, and people complain about that a tiny bit. I don't know enough about the second game to really judge, but... Those guys are so happy. But I need to look for crystal and magma. Those are the 2 that I want to find. I don't know if it's magma or lava. I assume it's magma. But, yes, I need to not do this. But yeah, I read it. I mean, I think it does say a lot about the book that I read it like 2 or 3 days ago. And I can honestly barely remember anything specific from the story. Like, it really didn't stick with me because not much happened. Like, okay, no, it did stick with me, but it's all super specific to the story being told. No hints. I should read all those. I definitely should, because there's a whole story being told. But right now I want to find specific slimes, which is what I play this game for. I play it for the ranching, not the story. Okay. Maybe up there. Okay, I need to not have my rock slime selected. I need to make sure I don't. This feels like there could be slimes here at night. Okay, actually I want to go through there, because that might get me over here, which looks like it might be magma. Flash lava. I still don't know if it's magma or lava. My assumption... Why do I think it's magma and not lava? One of them is like, if it's still in the ground, it's magma or lava, and then the opposite. Like, if it's above ground, it's lava, but if it's in the ground, it's magma or something. Yeah, I never went up there. Blue coral columns, very nice. Definitely gonna use them. Definitely not... Oh yeah, these are definitely crystal slimes right here. Nice. I don't know what I'm going to combine crystal slimes with. Let's see what their favorite food is. If their favorite food is heartbeats, that would be convenient. Okay, what's their favorite food? Crystal slimes. Veggies. Odd onion. Wonderful. That's very good because I'm already harvesting odd onions. I just want something to breed them with, or combine them with, so that I can get more plorts in general. That guy's funny. Those guys are funny looking. I like them. That guy's very funny. He's very friendly looking. Oop, got hit. I bet rock slime with crystal slime looks exactly like a rock slime with a crystal slime. Looks exactly like you would expect them to. Okay, into the water these guys go. Maybe there's something up there. No, there's definitely nothing up there. I'll double check in here for lava / magma. Because I didn't check too thoroughly for them. They could be right here and I just ignored it. But, I mean, there's definitely going to be more tar slimes forming any second now. Crystal plorts are dangerous. This area is bad. That's like the worst area so far I've seen, because it's 3 types of slimes in super close proximity with minimal chance to move elsewhere. But I found the crystal slimes at least. Now I just need to find where to put them. And I might have too many. 20 might be too many to sustain on one plot of odd onions, because the odd onions are fairly low supply. It's split with carrots, and you get way more carrots than odd onions from the odd onion plant. These guys are mean. Okay. I think I've basically explored this area enough. But yeah, the new book, it introduced more about an aspect of the world. And it has a plot line with a character that hasn't been seen for a while. Well, they were seen in the volume before, but literally only seen, not... They had no perspective because they were seen, basically, through a window. Which, I mean, that in itself is kind of a spoiler. But hey, it's not a huge spoiler. Because, I mean, it was kind of expected that it would happen eventually. I'll put my crystal slimes here. Yeah, just purchase everything. 20 might be too many. I think for now I might just stick with basic crystal slimes. Leave them unmodified. I'm actually also going to put an odd onion one here. Put some odd onions there so that they're closer to the ones who eat it. I will leave my odd onion farm over here in place because having the carrots is kind of useful. Odd onion. Try to grab all the odd onions and just carry them with me back over. Don't eat that. Don't eat the odd onions, please. Oka oka. Odd onions. You keep the mint mangoes, because I don't really... You get some too. I don't know. No, they definitely eat fruit. So one of these into here. I missed. One in there. And the rest... Oh my goodness. Look at all those spikes. Happy crystal slimes. Oh yeah, they hit from outside. Those guys are dangerous. Okay, this is just gonna have a bunch of crystal plorts. That's more than 12. I only needed 12. Perfect. I got what I needed, and now they can be sacrificed to the ocean. But there's so many plots back here. I'm still carrying the rock slimes that I want to put in the honey slime enclosure. That might be too many, but... Shoot, I needed exactly one more. That's the worst amount I could have needed more. Oh well, I'll leave it for now. They'll eat. They'll produce. But... story being told, the world is built on... Yeah... There was not a ton of super interesting stuff going on in the story. Well, like, the world building stuff was pretty good, but... no, the world building stuff was pretty important. Like, I think without it... I mean, it would have to happen eventually, obviously, but, like... It was pretty critical to what seems to be the overall story going forward. Did I feed them all? Okay, no, the last one just got fed, so... Hopefully I can keep these guys fed, but I don't know. Let's check on Quantos. They should be doing pretty good, because they have plenty of food. And there's not too many of them. Oh, I guess I could put my tabby slimes. Yeah, I'll put tabby slimes with the crystals because I want to get rid of the pink slimes that are part tabby because they don't have a favorite food that I'm actually willing to bother with feeding them. because hen hens are not a good source. And they're also it's not even like they're more interesting to deal with. Like, hen hens, to my understanding, you have some hen hens, you have some roosters, they breed, and that's it. It's not even like a more interesting system. You don't really have to do anything other than regularly restock roosters. So, not very interesting. And since it's not, I'm pretty sure it's not meaningfully interesting. I'm happy just using plant-based food that you can just have a plot and then feed and then you're good. But I keep getting sidetracked. I'm very bad at about that. I'm very, very bad about getting sidetracked. Are these guys hungry? No. I mean, they are, but in the same sense that every animal is always hungry. Except if they literally just ate. Don't need that. Cuberries for these guys on the right. Odd onions for the guys on the left. These guys have plenty. But I need to find more tabby slimes. I think tabby crystal slimes are gonna be kind of rough. Oh, I just need tabby plorts. Because I don't want more slimes in here. Because I already have 20 and that's probably too many. Especially with them being in the caves. But I wonder if you could just free range Largo slimes. Do they not eat mint mangoes? They don't. They eat veggies. You guys are hungry. They shouldn't be hungry. They should just eat. I got distracted again. Tabby slimes. Tabby plorts. I need 20. Okay. Tabby crystals. And then I can gradually remove these pink tabbies and send them off the cliff. Okay, these guys look pretty funny, but not in like a fun way. They just look kind of weird. I mean, the rest should eventually eat the plorts and be fine. Okay, let's collect these. Grab the tabby plorts, send them back in. And then grab the rest of these and go build my refinery link. Ooh, I need the odd onions. Because the odd onions do not produce well. Carrots and onions aren't even related. I'm pretty sure. Like, carrots aren't alliums or alliums, but onions are. So, like, I guess the odd onions just aren't onions. They're some other breed of vegetable. But it's weird that the odd onions produce carrots. They should. Oops. Oh well, whatever. I feel like they should produce, like, flowers. Like, alliums. You warp tech, refinery link. Any more jelly, but there's actually that one that I got from the treasure that I should go grab at some point. But I can build a refinery link right here. Wonderful. Can I can rotate it? Perfect. Beautiful. Refinery link, so I can just sort of do this now. Okay, that's enough because I can only carry 50 and I have more than 50 I have to bring. Wait, so I can... Oh, and I can interact to see how many I have. Wonderful. This is gonna be so convenient. I also should give these guys their carrots. Oh, but they're all gonna be sacrificed soon. It actually might be in my best interest to just not feed them and let them die, which is pretty against the spirit of the game. Given how happy this game is set up, it probably doesn't want you starving out your slimes just to save time on throwing them into the water to get rid of them. I wonder if destroying the coop instantly kills them, or if that just makes it worse because you have to corral them. It's not a coop. What is it? It is, I mean, it might be a corral. I just said the word. But I found another slime. I've got a bunch of new slimes collected. Making progress. Not half as focused on the story. I guess part of what made the story forgettable is it only took a couple hours to read, so it wasn't that long. I mean, there wasn't that much new information. There was a bunch, like the world set up with a netherworld and stuff, and the netherworld was established as being, I mean, I think it had, actually no, it hadn't been it had been hinted at, but it was never gone into sufficient detail because it was intentional keeping it unknown until now. But like the netherworld of this story is in an eternal cycle of like rebirth and destruction. Africa, like on Earth? Odd onions. Only half of them popped. Though, I actually got a normal amount of odd onions despite only half of them showing up. Which is probably good luck. Okay, I'm gonna throw in some extra carrots to these guys because they were hungry yesterday. I really shouldn't be feeding these guys at all because I don't need them. My odd onions go over here. I need to work out a proper schedule, proper route to check in on all my slimes. I don't think I'm going to be able to maintain all 20 raw crystal tabbies because I don't think I have enough odd onion income to keep them happy. Like, yeah, I definitely don't have enough odd onions to keep them happy, but I can just feed them veggies if they need food, so I should probably just grab some heartbeats to feed them. And then they'll be happy for now. They won't produce as much, but they won't be starving. So yeah, I'll give them the heartbeats. They're going over here. I keep getting distracted because I'm bad at focusing on something while doing something else because humans can't multitask. They physically do not humans physically do not multitask. People may think they multitask, but the closest thing to multitasking is like switching between stuff quickly. You can't actually focus on multiple topics at the same time. There's still a hungry guy in there. Honestly, if he just disappears when he's hungry, that would be nice, because then they would manage population more easily, but I think they get rowdy and break out. But it is what it is. They don't need more food. These guys are not hungry, and if they starve, they starve. I don't need to worry about that right now. Okay, I'm just gonna focus on ranching for a bit to make sure everything is stable. These guys are hungry, but I can't do anything about that right at the moment. I feel like Crystal Slime Tabby is a bad choice, because it's the worst vegetable food. Well, it's the worst growable food, and meat eater, so there's no alternative to the bad growable food that is really easy to keep track of. These guys are doing fine. Okay, they're all doing well. But I will just feed them the heartbeats now and just use the mint mangoes for the honey rock slimes, and they'll be happy. But story, world, destruction, rebirth, cycle. More information about a relatively enigmatic character is introduced in the most recent release, which was kind of, I mean, it wasn't especially interesting because like, the character himself was not particularly. It's the type of character. Interesting. 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 Interesting gameplay. Randomly clipped through the floor while walking. Game definitely hasn't been out for 6 years. Wonderful game. Grand old time. Totally reasonable. Totally expected. Not annoying at all. I can do the exact same thing. Good thing I didn't clip through that time. Let's hope these guys didn't go hungry. Oh, they are hungry. Here you go, guys. It's not my fault. The game just hates me. I really should just put some base pink slimes in here to get more. What the? Did that guy actually escape? He did. So some of them did actually escape. So I guess I have to check if there's any more that escaped, like... Okay, that's not one, that's not one. Doesn't look like any more actually escaped. I mean, that's pretty obnoxious that it went poorly because I got clipped through the floor. But I was talking about the character who was enigmatic, but in these types of stories, it's the type of character that could just stay enigmatic. They don't need to really be deeply explained, and they would function just fine as a character. Like, they are relevant, they're part of the story, but... And I mean, they're also making them more and more important to the story. Like, they're explicitly establishing that they are the reason... Oh, spoilers. They are the reason, or a big part of the reason, why the main world upon which the characters... Every character so far has been, you know, born and lived. Like, they're a big part of the reason why that world is collapsing, seemingly. It seems like it hasn't been fully explained, but it has been put forward that the hastening of the collapse of the world was their fault. Not totally their fault, there was someone else who tricked them, but they trusted this other person that they had no real reason to trust. And then it didn't go well. Which, like, that's fine. It's an important plot point. It needs to happen, but the character himself wasn't... Like, he's enigmatic, you don't know who he is, but I think he would have served perfectly fine as just that weird character who shows up sometimes. Though he does more than that, but like I do not feel I think it's a choice. But it wasn't 100% necessary. It wasn't the wrong choice to introduce more information. But it wouldn't have been difficult to not introduce more information without, like, I think the story would have been fine even if it opted for a not, like, giving the character a full fleshed out background. Like, it would have been fine, but it would have been a different story. But it obviously makes sense to flesh out the character. Does anything have carrots as their favorite food? I don't believe there's anything that has carrots as their favorite food. There. All the food they'll ever need. Tons of heartbeats. Just because I don't need to carry any of that. Oh yeah, I was carrying the... I'm gonna leave that there to rot. Because I have a lot of stuff to move. I have 100 plorts in both of these, which is combined is gonna take more than 2 trips. I think you get it down to like 58. And then prepare to leave. But one character who was enigmatic got fleshed out. A couple new characters were introduced. But like the main character didn't really interact with anyone for most of the volume. Like they did interact with someone, but the person they were interacting with was very a side character. Like no, they're central, but they're not important. Like they didn't talk, they didn't communicate back and forth a lot because that was just what the character's like. But that thinking about this reminded me of my biggest annoyance with reading it. That has been an issue the entire series, but it's more noticeable for some reason reading this volume. But like a lot of stories, written stories with combat that have skills and skill names, they lean very heavily on cool, flashy skill names. Like, whenever there's combat, it's, oh, I use this and this and this and this and that and this and that. Like, there's very little that that is not interesting, in my opinion. It's like fun when the characters get stronger and whatever, but these types of stories, I don't think there's a single written story where the battle itself is a highlight. Like the outcomes of the battles, the context surrounding the battles can be highlights. Like the importance of the battle, managing to succeed against all odds, losing and then winning, whatever, that can be appealing. But when I think this one had a lot of the story was battles they were obviously not going to lose because they're the main character in a story where the main character is the only character that matters. Like, if this was a book that wasn't centered around one character, you could maybe be like, oh, the character might die, but there's no chance that this character would ever die permanently. Like, if they do eventually die permanently. Wow. Bold choice. But, oh, I have no water, because dying killed all my water despite me landing in water. But these types of stories, when they just list battle technique, skill name, like, I used Radiant Slash with my Divine Scythe and Divine Flames and stuff. It's like, this is just filling in words. It's just filler. Like, I can respect filler in, like, not agree with, but like if somebody's writing something and is paid by the word, can respect filler, because money. But if it's something that they're writing themselves, they're not compensated for their word count, it doesn't benefit the story to have these fights that are just long named skills, one after the other, after the other, after the other. But it's still fun to read, mostly. I do just skim through a lot of the battle stuff because it's not interesting. But, I mean, as a side point to that, it's kind of to be expected from the genre. Like, you can't really expect much more than that. Another issue with this volume, but just the past several volumes have had the same issue, of it's a story with, like, status pages, and so, it quantifies every value that is relevant to the character. It lists all their skills, all the skill levels, but some books, and this one is this series especially, lean on it as like a, oh hey, the character's made progress. Look at this list of numbers that you're not going to bother reading. They've made progress. Look at all the progress they've made. And it's like, no, I'm not reading that. When it's the fourth, when they do that like 5 or 6 times in a single volume of a story, it's not, it's too much. Like, maybe put it at the start and end of an arc, or start and end of a volume. Like, if it's an arc within a volume, start and end of an arc, sure, makes sense. But like, when it just boils down to, oh hey, here's this very singular minor change to my skills, and this very small improvement that's been made, it's like, we don't need you to show their entire, like, skills tree. Like, we don't need that every single time there's a slight change. So I think that's a weak point of the series. It really does stress the progress on the stat screen sort of stuff, which a lot of these do. Like, numbers are fun to look at, but not when the numbers don't mean anything. 'Cause, like, if there is legitimate, if the numerical values are quantified and clearly scale in a way that makes sense, sure, numbers can be fun to look at. But this especially, but a lot of these types of stories, I find have an issue of a complete disconnect between any meaning. Like, oh hey, this person has 450 dexterity. Oh, what's this? You haven't seen a single other creature's level of dexterity in, like, 8 volumes? Oh, so you don't know what 450 dexterity means? Well, it means you're 450 times 1. Like, it's like, oh, they're making progress, but it doesn't, it needs to touch base with something. It needs a reference point, and it doesn't have that. For stats even, but even more for skills. It's like, okay, in some stories, it's like, okay, skills go from 1 till 10. Straightforward, maybe kind of boring, but it functions. In this one, who knows what the max level skill is? It's anywhere from, like, 1 to, like, 25. Seemingly at random. It's not at random, it's probably thought out, but, like, there's no predictability to it. And I think, no, there's even ones that have max level of 3. Like, it means that, oh, the only things you look for are, is this skill maxed out, or is this skill not maxed out? And that's the only thing about the skill levels that matters. Because even if it's level 17, maybe it maxes out at level 50, you don't know. And so it kind of like, these numbers don't need to be shown as regularly as they are because they don't mean anything. And I think that's a weak point of this series. It's still a fun series, fun to read. But if I think about it too much, it irks me a lot. Which is why it's the type of book you just read without thinking. You just, oh, okay, new stuff happening, hee hee hee, fun moment, ha ha ha. Good times. Main character happy, we good. Main character behaves like a demon, we good. Like, it works. It's fun, but it definitely runs into those issues where it sort of does feel like the author might just be trying to fill in space by including like all this, oh, here's the status screen because I just recently leveled up a skill. Let's show everything. Show every skill, every stat, everything, despite the fact that all that happened is one skill went from level 1 to level 2. Like that, it doesn't, it's not interesting. It's a weak point of the story, but it's still fun to read. Oh, I didn't realize I was full on tabby plorts. Oh, cause yeah, I was doing crystal tabbies. I forgot that that's what I was ranching over there. Corralling. Better not risk any tar slimes. Guess good enough for now. But yeah, it's still fun to read. It establishes fun bits for the story going forward. But it's rude. You can definitely see like the references with like the stories that clearly this is sort of built off of, not built off of, it's not plagiarism, but like the stories that it clearly is inspired by, it is very, very clear what the types of stories are. I don't think it's been super specific with, oh, it's definitely this one exact story, which is good. If I haven't read everything, so I could obviously just not recognize it because I just don't know it. But I haven't read too many, I'll stress that. But the fact that I don't recognize one specific bit of DNA from one specific story is a positive. Like, if it was clearly drawing from a super specific story and it was recognizable, that might be an issue. But as it stands, it's just, oh. As it stands, it's just a... let's just sell the next one, sure. As it stands, it's just kind of an odd, very cliche-heavy story that does have enough to keep it unique. Like, it's not just a derivative story. It has plenty to keep it its own story. Like, it's not, I mean, again, it's not totally unique because there's another Japanese series that does, actually, that's the only thing that I've personally thought of that it felt very connected to, now that I think about it more, but there's the Carefree Demon Princess? I don't remember the name. The name doesn't really matter. But there's this specific story that I was rereading recently that, to me, felt like, when I was rereading it, well, actually, no, when I was reading this for the first time, but which is what reminded me, when I was reading through Salvos, it made me think of the Carefree Demon one, because it's a story of a character who is a demon, poses more or less as a human in the human world, and the manner in which the demons exist is very similar. Like, the demons, like, start out in sort of a larval form. They start out as unstructured beings. They build up over time, and then they grow. But that's just the fundamental, like, elements of the demons. It doesn't focus, it doesn't, like, copy anything from it, I would say. Like, to me, it feels like it's almost certainly inspired by that setup for the, like, main character demon, but it's definitely not just a ripoff. It has its own story. And I mean, the carefree demon princess, whatever the actual name is, doesn't like focus on the character evolving, because within the story being told, the character is always from the beginning, the character was at full strength, strongest being in the world, basically. They weren't actually the strongest being in the world, but they were among the strongest, and it very much, they were that way basically from the start. It didn't have them, yeah, I mean, they grew, they started weaker, they got stronger, but they got stronger without their knowing it and without any struggle, and they became uber strong just by living and getting carried. But it is what it is. Like, that's the only that's the only story whose DNA I feel is very strongly in this series. It might even be a coincidence. I wouldn't believe it if someone said it was a coincidence, but it could definitely be a coincidence, because it's like, oh, the demons start as a larval goo and then become stronger. That's completely, that could very easily have been two separate thoughts from separate origins that came to the same, a very similar conclusion. I mean, there's mathematical formula that were developed at the same time in totally different places that came to the same conclusion or solved the same problem. I can't remember the specifics, but it came to the same function in the end, that were developed totally separately. And then, like, it's related to, like, sine, cosine, and tangent. Like, sine and cosine are some mix of the like, sine, cosine, tangents, the trigonometry. Certain trigonometry stuff was developed in one place, then another place had a different segment of trigonometry discovered, and it was all at the same time. Probably not the exact same time, but, like, very close in time. And they were separate, and they all came together and all got the same sort of result. Which just shows that sometimes that just happens. I still wouldn't totally believe it personally, but it's also, like, a totally reasonable thing to, like, oh yeah, this basic premise being reused is reasonable, because it's fairly minor. Because that's the only thing that I would say, if anything is reused, it would just be that basic thing there. The rest of the story is totally different. But time to go to sleep at 4:40 and wake up at 6. Probably worse. No, it's probably better. Like, an hour, 20 minutes of sleep is probably better than 0 of sleep, but than 0 minutes of sleep. But that's the end for this. I'll be back with this again on Wednesday, and I might do it again Friday, but I'll probably play something different Friday. Goodbye.